They saw the pin and thought nothing of it. A small silver wings insignia on a commercial pilot's uniform at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Surely just standard airline issue, but they didn't know what it meant or where it came from. Not yet. They thought he was just another airline captain, just a man with graying temples and routine flights until a retired Air Force general caught a glimpse of his lapel and saluted mid-concourse. The morning light streamed through the massive windows of Terminal 3 at O'Hare, a typical American airport where passengers rushed between gates and flight crews moved with practiced efficiency. Rows of departure boards displayed destinations worldwide. Travelers complained, checked phones, bought overpriced coffee. And moving through the controlled chaos was a man in a dark blue uniform with 4 gold stripes on his shoulders and a small silver pin just above his name tag. In Captain Daniel Cross, 48, commercial airline pilot. The kind of professional that passengers trusted implicitly but never really noticed beyond his pre-flight announcements. His uniform was impeccably pressed, his flight bag well worn, his voice calm and reassuring over the PA system. He carried no visible signs of his past beyond regulation airline identification. He flew nowhere near military airspace unless required by flight paths. His Honda Accord had an airline parking permit and a pilot dad bumper sticker for his teenage daughter. And aside from one small detail, a uniquely designed silver wings pin that wasn't standard airline issue, he was completely unremarkable. Captain Cross has a weird pin on his uniform, one of the younger first officers mentioned during pre-flight checks. Not the regular airline wings, something custom maybe? Mild curiosity followed, but no real interest. Daniel ignored it, as he ignored most cockpit small talk beyond operational necessities. He moved through United Airlines like a consummate professional, well respected by the chief pilots who valued his safety record, invisible to the airline executives who saw only on-time performance statistics, and considered reliable but distant by crew members who knew his coffee order but nothing about his background. He had been flying commercial routes for 7 years. Same schedule rotation, international long-haul flights, mostly trans-Pacific routes to Tokyo, Seoul, and Sydney. The flight operations managers knew his technical skills were exceptional. Instrument approaches in terrible weather, emergency procedures executed flawlessly, decision-making that consistently prioritized passenger safety. The flight attendants knew he was professional but quiet, always courteous but never personal. But none of them knew where he'd flown before joining United Airlines, and not one suspected what those silver wings actually represented. That was exactly how Daniel wanted it. Professional, competent, invisible until Tuesday. It was supposed to be just another pre-flight routine for United Flight 887 to Tokyo. The gate area was its usual mix of business travelers reviewing presentations and families beginning vacations. Daniel was completing his walk-around inspection of the Boeing 777 when he noticed an older man in a business suit studying him from the jet bridge entrance. The man's posture, the way he observed rather than simply looked, suggested military training. Daniel continued his inspection, noting the man's continued attention. As Daniel climbed the air stairs to board through the forward door, the man approached. "Captain Cross," the man said, his voice carrying unmistakable command authority. "Permission to speak?" Daniel turned, recognizing the bearing even before noticing the subtle lapel pin marking the man as retired military brass. "I'll be conducting my flight duties shortly, sir. If you need assistance, please speak with the gate agent." The older man's eyes locked onto the silver wings pin above Daniel's name tag. His expression shifted from curiosity to recognition to something approaching shock. "Those wings. Captain, are those what I think they are?" Daniel felt his carefully constructed civilian identity beginning to crack. Other passengers were boarding. Flight attendants were preparing the cabin. The first officer was already in the cockpit running checklists. This was neither the time nor place for his past to surface. "They're airline wings, sir. Standard issue. If you'll excuse me." "With respect, Captain, those are not standard issue." The man lowered his voice. "Those are Air Force Test and Pilot School wings with a modification I've only seen on one aircraft program." Daniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Sir, I need to prepare for departure." "State Route 71," the man continued quietly, reading the subtle design elements that only someone with specific knowledge would recognize. "You flew the Blackbird." The words hung in the gate area like a bomb nobody else could hear. Nearby passengers continued boarding, oblivious to the significance of the exchange. But for Daniel, 7 years of careful anonymity had just been compromised by someone who understood what those modified wings represented. "General," Daniel said, recognizing the rank from the man's bearing and the specific knowledge he possessed, "I flew commercial jets. That's my current assignment." "Your current assignment," the general repeated, emphasizing the military terminology Daniel had unconsciously used. "But your previous assignment was considerably more classified," a flight attendant approached. "Captain Cross, we're ready for boarding completion." Daniel nodded, grateful for the interruption. "I need to begin my duties, General. Perhaps we can continue this conversation after landing in Tokyo if you're on this flight." The general studied him for a long moment. "I'm General Robert Harrison, retired. I commanded Edwards Air and Force Base during the final years of the State Route 71 program. I personally pinned those modified wings on 3 pilots. You're one of them." Daniel glanced around the gate area, noting that several passengers had paused their boarding to watch the exchange with mild curiosity. In minutes, someone would post on social media about the weird confrontation at their gate. By the time they landed in Tokyo, the story would have spread through the airline's crew gossip network. "General Harrison, with respect, I have 247 passengers depending on me to get them safely across the Pacific. Whatever you believe you recognize, this isn't the time or place." "Agreed," Harrison said, backing away slightly. "But Captain, men who flew Mach 3 at 85,000 feet don't just disappear into commercial aviation. Your skills are being wasted on autopilot across oceans." As Harrison moved toward his seat in business class, Daniel entered the cockpit where his first officer was completing pre-start checklists. The younger pilot looked up with curiosity. "Everything okay, Captain?" That looked intense. Daniel settled into the left seat, beginning his own checklist verification with the mechanical precision that had once guided him through supersonic flight at the edge of space. "Just a passenger with questions. Nothing relevant to our flight," but as Daniel ran through familiar procedures, fuel calculations, weather briefings, system checks, his mind kept returning to those silver wings and what they represented. He'd worn them every day for 7 years, a private memorial to the most extraordinary flying he'd ever experienced. Nobody at United had ever recognized their significance. The airline-issued wings would have been safer, more anonymous. But Daniel Cross couldn't bring himself to remove the only physical reminder of when he'd been something more than a professional transport pilot flying predictable routes across predictable airspace. Now that reminder had exposed him, and by the time they reached Tokyo, everyone would know that their reliable, boring Captain Cross had once flown the most advanced reconnaissance aircraft ever built at speeds and altitudes that seemed impossible. The irony wasn't lost on Daniel. He'd survived countless high-risk missions over hostile territory, navigated mechanical emergencies at 3 times the speed of sound, and landed a crippled Blackbird with 1 engine out. But a chance encounter with a retired general in an airport terminal had accomplished what no enemy ever could. It had brought down his cover. As United 887 pushed back from the gate and Daniel began the familiar taxi procedures, he wondered whether his secret would survive the 14-hour flight to Tokyo, or if he'd land to find his carefully constructed anonymous civilian life had been destroyed by recognition of a pin most people never noticed. Some pilots just fly planes. Daniel Cross had flown legend, and that distinction, no matter how hard he tried to hide it, apparently refused to stay buried at cruising altitude. The flight to Tokyo proceeded with textbook normalcy. Weather was cooperative, systems performed flawlessly, and passengers enjoyed the smooth ride that Daniel's extensive experience provided. But in Seat 5A, General Harrison spent the flight composing something on his laptop that would change Daniel's carefully maintained anonymity. After landing and completing his post-flight duties, Daniel found a message waiting. "General Harrison requests your presence in the United Lounge before your return flight. Important discussion regarding your unique qualifications." Daniel could have ignored it, could have claimed crew rest requirements or scheduling conflicts. But military conditioning ran deep, and when a general requested attendance, even a retired one, Daniel found himself walking toward the airline lounge, with the same inevitability that had once pulled him toward impossible missions at impossible altitudes. Harrison was waiting in a private corner, 2 coffees already ordered. "Captain Cross, thank you for coming." Daniel remained standing. "With respect, General, my flying career is a matter of public record. I'm a commercial pilot. That's the entirety of my current identity. Please sit." Harrison gestured to the chair. "I'm not here to expose you or compromise whatever peace you've found in commercial aviation. I'm here because circumstances have evolved that require your specific expertise." Daniel sat, his trained mind already calculating exit strategies and response options. "I've been out of military aviation for 7 years. Whatever expertise I possessed has atrophied. Skills like yours don't atrophy," Harrison countered. "You flew reconnaissance missions that gathered intelligence preventing multiple conflicts. You navigated situations that would have killed lesser pilots. You have instincts that can't be taught or simulated." Had. Past tense. "I'm a 777 captain now. I fly tourists and business travelers. My most challenging decisions involve weather delays and fuel calculations." Harrison pulled out his laptop, turning it so Daniel could see the screen. Satellite imagery, flight path projections, technical specifications that Daniel recognized immediately, even after 7 years away from classified briefings. "There's a situation developing," Harrison said quietly. "Experimental aircraft. New technology that makes the State Route 71 look like a crop duster, but it's experiencing anomalies that conventional test pilots can't diagnose. We need someone who understands flight at the edge of physics." Daniel studied the data, his pilot brain automatically analyzing performance parameters and identifying the concerning patterns Harrison had highlighted. "This is beyond my clearance, beyond my current capacity. I gave up that world." "Why?" Harrison's question was direct. "Men who fly like you did don't usually walk away voluntarily." Daniel was silent for a long moment, his mind returning to the reason he'd traded Mach 3 for Mach .85, traded 85,000 feet for 41,000 feet, traded legend for anonymity. "My daughter, she was 9 when my wife died. I was gone constantly, deployed, training, missions I couldn't discuss. She needed a father who came home every night, not a ghost who appeared between classified assignments. So you chose family over mission. I chose the only mission that actually mattered." Daniel gestured to the satellite imagery. "Whatever problems you're experiencing with this program, there are other qualified pilots. I'm not special anymore. I'm just a commercial captain trying to be a present father." Harrison closed his laptop. "Your daughter's 17 now. Heading to college soon, based on the research my staff conducted before approaching you." "You investigated me?" "I investigated whether the sacrifice you made 7 years ago still applies." "Your daughter's accepted to Stanford. Full scholarship. She's independent, accomplished, proud of her airline pilot father." Harrison paused. "The question is whether you're proud of being just an airline pilot, or if you miss what you really were." Daniel stood to leave. "What I really was got people killed. Collected intelligence that led to decisions I'll never know the consequences of. I flew over countries that didn't know I was there, gathering information that shaped policies and conflicts. I'm proud of the service, but I don't miss the weight. Yet you wear those wings every day," Harrison observed. "You could wear standard airline wings, but you choose to carry that reminder." Daniel looked down at the silver wings pin, the modified design that marked him as part of the most elite group of pilots in aviation history. "It's not about pride. It's about remembering that extraordinary capabilities come with extraordinary costs. I look at these wings and remember why I gave up that life." Harrison handed Daniel a card with nothing but a phone number. "If you change your mind, or if the commercial aviation routine becomes too mundane, call. The program I mentioned needs someone who understands that extraordinary capabilities require extraordinary wisdom. Someone who gave up legend for love might be exactly who we need." After Harrison left, Daniel remained in the lounge, staring at the silver wings pin that had betrayed his past. And he could remove it, replace it with standard airline wings, eliminate the risk of future recognition. But like Harrison said, he wore it for a reason, not as a badge of pride, but as a daily reminder of the choice he'd made to be present for his daughter rather than absent for his country. to fly predictable routes rather than impossible missions, to be ordinary rather than legendary. The pin reminded him that he'd been extraordinary once, but he'd chosen something better. The question now was whether that choice was permanent, or if there were missions that mattered enough to risk everything he'd built in 7 years of determined anonymity. Daniel looked at the card with the phone number, then at the silver wings on his uniform. Some pilots chase speed and altitude. Daniel Cross had caught them both, and then let them go. Whether he'd ever chase them again remained an unanswered question, encoded in the design of wings that most people never noticed, but that marked him as someone who'd flown higher and faster than almost anyone alive. The Tokyo layover would give him time to decide. But as Daniel walked toward his hotel, he couldn't shake the feeling that his carefully maintained anonymous existence had just been given a cruising altitude that wouldn't hold much longer. Some secrets could be buried at 41,000 feet. But memories of flying at 85,000 feet apparently had a way of resurfacing, no matter how hard you tried to keep them in the past. If this story moved you, let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden heroes walking among us. What would you choose, family or calling? Drop your thoughts in the comments.